beautiful people. Welcome back to my podcast show, Pondering That with Saffron King. I am the host, and today we're with the very renowned, multi-talented Marshawn. Marshawn is a creative born and raised in LA, in Compton. He is currently working at Hidden Empire Film Group, where they have produced films such as Traffik, Supremacy, Fatale, and more. So, Marshawn, just to start off with, can you tell us a fact about Compton that you don't think other people might not know unless they were actually living there?
Let's see. A fact. I can say that a lot of people who think Compton is like as bad as it is, you do definitely have your different gang size, like Bloods and Crips, but a lot of us are family. So you might have Bloods and Crips, and they might hate each other, but they're like family, like first or second cousins. So that's a fact that nobody knows about. And then I got one more too. And then also the food choices out there. We have so many great food choices. If you experience the city, from vegan options to the best fried chicken from Louisiana to Tams and Louis Burgers, chili cheese, it's filled with a lot of positive as opposed to it being perceived as negative.
Thank you for sharing that. So, Marshawn, what made you get into working in film?
That's a great question. I graduated with my degree in communications and media technology from Academy of Art University in San Francisco. And after that, I spent some time overseas in Germany and in Spain playing basketball. But when I got back, I knew that film was my calling because basketball wouldn't be my calling as long. Like I started to lose the passion for it. And I always had a keen eye for like director's cuts and like the way that things were shot and produced and the way things were written. So I'm like, you know what? I gotta get in this field. And some of my favorite movies, it kind of inspired me, like Goodfellas, the way Scorsese shot Goodfellas and he shot Casino, and the way Spike Lee shot Do the Right Thing. And so I was always a big movie critic and a big movie head. And I'm like, I have to find a way to get in that space. So that's why I'm here now. I found a way and I got here.
Amazing. And like I feel like when you work in film as well, like you connect to people's hearts, like people who you don't know. You can put a piece of work out, then you don't know how that's touching someone who you've never heard of, you never ever encountered. Like you've got that power. So that's beautiful. So tell us more about your role, Marshawn, because you're into development and you're executive assistant as well, aren't you? As well as a creative. Like, tell us more about your role.
So my role, Dion brought me here. Prior to this, I was working at Entertainment 360, where we represented a plethora of talent across the board. I built connections with Evelyn O'Neill, Susan Bymel, who are some of the top managers in the business who represent like Anne Hathaway, Julianne Moore, Chadwick Boseman, RIP, Daniel Kaluuya, just to say the least, Jonathan Majors, everybody, your top actors and actresses. And I always had a thing for wanting to be in that space. But as it progressed and I got to see like the behind the scenes of like how things were developed and created, I was like, you know what? I got to figure out a way to jump over it and come over here or go to any studio per se or production company. So Dion and I spoke. He came into the office. He's represented by 3 people at Entertainment 360. And I was kind of telling them about like what I wanted to do and things of that nature. And I jumped ship in March, and it's been lovely ever since. So now I work on his creative team. So I do a lot of reading as far as like scripts. Yeah. We come up with a lot of creative ideas. We have a board right now that's full with like different projects we're working on, from podcasts to feature films to, docu-series, which we're working on Floyd Mayweather's docu-series right now. I was just in Miami for that. But to say all that, to say like the creative side is so beautiful because you get to tell your story and you get to work with a team that gets to tell an overall story. And you get to see it from your perspective, and you get to make sure like it's not a negative perspective, and you get to make sure it's like on a positive scheme. So that's what I do now, as opposed to coming up with other projects, bringing NBA players in here who want to be behind the camera, NFL players who want to tell their story. So
Wow.
I have a lot going on right now. I'm very all across the board with everything. So it's a beautiful thing.
Oh, you're very busy, and like I know a lot of people use the term busy a lot, but you're very like productive with your busyness. Like you definitely
Yes,
are living in your calling, you know. I think it's a very beautiful
100%.
thing. And it's interesting how you said about you getting more NBA players to come and tell their story behind the cameras. Do you think that's important then?
I definitely think that's important because they have NBA players have so many stories to tell, and they never get to tell their stories because they're afraid of how the media will perceive them, or they don't have that voice. They don't know how to translate or transition over into the entertainment side. So with that being said, that's where I come in, and I'm like kind of the liaison between like, all right, you know what? I'm working for Deion Taylor, who's a renowned producer, director, filmmaker. Why would I bring some of these NBA players to get to tell their story and fund they already have the funds, they can back it, and they just want the world to know like they're creative just as well. Like basketball isn't the only creative thing that they're doing with themselves. They want to be able to tell stories. They want to be able to, write, direct, produce. So that's where I come in, and it's worked out perfectly. The transition has been excellent.
Oh, amazing. No, that's amazing. Have you watched the new film Air about with my is it
Yes,
Michael
yes, with
Jordan?
Viola
Yes,
Davis and
yes,
Chris Tucker. Yeah,
yes. What
I
did you
actually got
think
to
of
go eat
that?
with Chris Tucker. I loved it. I got to go eat with Chris Tucker in Miami like last weekend, and we got to sit and talk about it because Portland, the way that they did the film, they shot it in Los Angeles, but they made it look just like the Portland Nike headquarters. And I got to talk to Chris about it and his role and Viola Davis's role and how Michael Jordan was able to just tell his story through and through. So I thought it was beautifully written, beautifully directed. I actually saw it twice, honestly.
Oh, amazing. You see, I watched it once. I definitely will watch it again. It's so
Mhm.
inspiring as well. And yeah, no, I felt I was very touched by it. Whether you're in the NBA or have been in it or not, there is some inspiration you can draw from it. So that's beautiful. So, Marsha,
100%.
oh, so having grown up in Compton and with what people outside of Compton know from Compton being very the crime rate being very high and the poverty rate being high as well, how have you been able to shine through that? Basically like yeah, have you yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, it does. You know what? So, I went to school like my whole life in Compton. So from elementary to eighth grade, well, seventh grade, I went to a school right outside. But then from ninth grade until I went to Compton High, and you know what? It's all about the company you keep. Basketball was a tool to help me get out of my situation. My mother and my father, they stayed grounded on me, and they made sure my family, they stayed grounded on me and made sure like, you know what, this isn't the path that you want to take. Now, granted, like all my family members, they're still involved heavily in the gang life. I still go back there, because that's still family at the end of the day. But I try to like separate and keep boundaries between the two. I don't I don't mix that life with or the people or my family with the life that I have. If anything, I want to bring them out that life. So basketball was definitely a tool, and I just stayed grounded. I didn't listen to the outside noise from drugs to not anything to women. I was locked in on my craft, and I kind of think God first and foremost, because without him, nothing would be possible. And I've been in situations to where I could have been caught up in things of that nature, but you know what? God helped me to prevail out of those situations. And my mother, my father, my grandmother, give thanks to them because they put a basketball in my hand and they put sports in my life. And that's what carried me out of those situations to obtain a college degree, to get to where I am now, to know like it's more to life than, that world. So yeah.
That's a thank you. No, thank you for sharing. That's a beautiful story because I'm a strong believer in God myself, and God bless like your mom, your dad, and your grandma for also helping
Mhm.
you through that as well and supporting you. And it's definitely been God's hand on you how and also your own determination and passion and focus that has got you to where you are now. What advice would you give to someone? Oh, actually, before I skipped the question there. Um, what has been the hardest thing that you've had to grow through and go through in your life up until this point?
The hardest thing I've went through up until this point was, I think, losing my mother 5 years ago, 6 years, 5 years ago, 2018. She passed from breast cancer. And granted, I keep her posts and stuff on my Instagram, but I don't really like open up about it. I talk to my therapist about it, but I think just seeing her like watching me graduate, because she wrote a journal before she passed away. And it just kept like little notes and like little words of encouragement. Like, so when she did transcend and pass, that I would still be able to hear her voice within that journal. So I keep that with me everywhere. But I think that was the hardest part, because I tried to go play basketball overseas, and that didn't work because I was mentally just all over the place. So I came back home, and I lived with a family member who played in the NBA as well, and he kind of helped me and kept me on the right track. So yeah, I think losing my mother was like the hardest. But now that I've grown and I've come to understand, like, you know what, I wouldn't even want her to suffer. It's kind of been like an easier transition. Nonetheless, I still miss her heavily, but you know, I just thank her for her when she was here, showing me like how to get through life and stuff like that. So yeah.
No, thank you for sharing that, Marshawn. I'm so sorry you lost your mom. Like, I'm sure as well, like you really have kept her legacy alive through what you're doing, and you're doing her immensely proud. So honestly, kudos to you. And so, what advice would you give to someone, so like younger than you, younger than us, a young person currently who's growing up in Compton? What advice would you give them that you wish you had known when you were younger?
Mhm. The advice I would give to somebody coming up, not even from Compton, but just like from a place of like hardship, or a place of like
Yes.
adversity, I would tell them to just keep going. Like the outside noise is gonna always be there. You're gonna always be persuaded by friends who want you to do, or tend to take you down a back alley or a black road. But I would just say keep going. Like, man, depend on some of your OGs who made it out the struggle, made it out the hood, that you see doing really well. And it doesn't just have to be basketball. It can be anything from, you know, as long as they have a job and they're sufficient in life, and they don't have to go back and sell those drugs or do whatever they do. Just depend and fall back on your OGs, because at the end of the day, that lifestyle isn't gonna get you anywhere but in jail, dead, or you know, in trouble. So my advice is always, you know, even if it's me, if young kids listening right now and want to reach out and just pick my brain and talk to me about life and how I got to where I am now, I'm always an open book. I'm always more than willing to help, and like just be there, a listening ear, and just advocate and help these young kids. So that's what I tell my young bulls all the time. My little bros, I tell them they can depend on me, call on me whenever they need anything. I'm always here. So yeah.
Oh, amazing. No, that is so beautiful to hear. And you know what? Your story has really shown us that you can make it, and you don't have to allow your environment to define you, whether you're born in the UK, America, China, whichever part of hardship you've come from, you don't have to let it define you. And you're a living testament to that. Oh,
Yeah,
thank you,
thank you so much.
Marsha.
I appreciate it, Queen. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. And Marshawn, where can we find you on socials? Like where, yeah, give us
Uh,
those.
yeah, my at is at Marshawn McMahan, my first and last name. I don't try to switch it up. All my socials are at Marshawn McMahan. So if you ever need me, at Marshawn McMahan, that's with everything: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Marshawn. So guys, you know where to find him. Marshawn, thank you for talking with us. Like
Thank
you're
you.
so
I
inspiring.
appreciate it.
Oh, and I know you can
Thank you for having
continue.
me.
Oh no,
Yeah.
the pleasure is all mine. And like you're gonna continue to go higher and higher, and may all your dreams and heart's desires come true. So yeah, continue
Thank
to
you.
rise, King.
I appreciate it,
Oh,
Queen. I appreciate that.
oh, thank you for listening, guys. So you know where to find us on Instagram. It's at underscore pondering that with Saffron King. And also you can look for us on YouTube and pondering that with Saffron King as well. So you can look for us visually on Spotify, Apple, and also on Instagram. So bye for now, guys, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.